I stood at the grill, the summer sun warming my back as I flipped burgers and monitored the steaks. Today was supposed to be perfect. The small velvet box in my pocket felt heavier than its actual weight, carrying all my hopes and dreams for our future together. Amanda and I had been together for 3 years, and I was finally ready to make it official. Everything was set for my sunset proposal by the lake. If you are watching from a place where you have ever had your heart broken unexpectedly, drop a comment and hit subscribe. This story might just heal something inside you. I met Amanda at my college friend Tom's wedding 3 years ago. I was 30, working as a software engineer at a tech company in Chicago, and had almost skipped the event after a particularly grueling project week. Something told me to go, and that intuition changed my life. She was standing by the bar in a midnight blue dress, laughing at something the bartender said. Her brown hair fell in soft waves around her shoulders, and when she turned, her hazel eyes caught mine. There was something magnetic about her presence that drew me in immediately. "You look like you could use this more than me," she said, sliding an extra glass of champagne my way. "You have that just escaped from coding prison look." I laughed, surprised by her accuracy. "Is it that obvious? My brother has the same haunted expression after deadline weeks," she explained. "I am Amanda, by the way. Friend of the bride." "Bert," I replied. "Friend of the groom since freshman year." We talked through the entire reception. Amanda worked in marketing, specializing in social media campaigns. She was passionate, vibrant, and had a way of making even ordinary stories sound fascinating. Where I was reserved and analytical, she was outgoing and intuitive. Our differences seemed complementary rather than conflicting. Our first date was at a small Italian restaurant in downtown Chicago, where we talked until the staff started stacking chairs. I learned that Amanda had grown up in the suburbs, loved horror movies despite being easily scared, and had a talent for remembering obscure facts about celebrities. Even then, I noticed our different approaches to social media. While I checked in, occasionally Amanda documented much of her life online. She had a growing following on Instagram and was just starting to explore TikTok. I did not mind it then. It was just part of her career and personality, I thought. The relationship progressed naturally. After 3 months, we were officially exclusive. At 6 months, I met her parents during a Sunday dinner where her father grilled me about my career prospects and her mother showed me embarrassing childhood photos. At our 1-year anniversary, we took our first vacation together to a beachfront rental in Florida, where we spent mornings walking along the shore and evenings watching the sunset from the deck. 18 months in, we decided to move in together. We found a 2-bedroom apartment in a renovated building with large windows and a small balcony overlooking a neighborhood park. Combining our lives felt right. My minimalist furniture and tech gadgets somehow merged perfectly with her colorful decor and extensive book collection. Our routines intertwined in comfortable ways. I made coffee every morning while she chose the music. Weekend mornings were for farmers market visits and brunch. Sunday evenings became our time to cook together and talk about the upcoming week. These small moments of domestic harmony made me feel more secure than I had ever felt in previous relationships. We navigated conflicts with relative ease. When I needed quiet time to decompress after work, Amanda learned to give me space. When she wanted to try new restaurants or attend social events, I pushed myself out of my comfort zone. We were different, but our differences pushed us to grow. By the time we reached 2.5 years together, I was certain Amanda was the one I wanted to spend my life with. We had discussed marriage in hypothetical terms, both agreeing it was something we wanted eventually. Her hints had become less subtle in recent months, commenting on friends' engagement rings and sending me links to wedding venues that caught her eye. The decision to propose came after a weekend visiting my parents. Watching them still affectionate after 35 years of marriage, I realized I wanted that same enduring partnership with Amanda. On the drive back to Chicago, I started mentally planning how and when I would ask her to marry me. Ring shopping proved more stressful than expected. My best friend Jake accompanied me to 6 different jewelers over 2 weekends. Amanda had mentioned liking emerald-cut diamonds, and I wanted something elegant but unique. I finally found the perfect ring, A emerald-cut diamond on a platinum band with small sapphires flanking the center stone, a nod to the blue dress she wore when we first met. The timing seemed perfect when Amanda suggested hosting a family barbecue at her parents' lake house. The property had a private dock extending into the water, creating an ideal backdrop for a sunset proposal. I coordinated with her father, who helped me plan a moment when we could slip away from the gathering for what would appear to be a casual sunset walk. In the weeks leading up to the barbecue, I practiced my proposal speech repeatedly. It evolved from an overly formal declaration to something more authentic, expressing simply how she had changed my life and why I wanted to build a future with her. I rehearsed it during my commute in the shower, and while Amanda was out with friends, the morning of the barbecue arrived with perfect weather. Clear blue skies promised the picturesque sunset I had hoped for. I woke early, double-checking that the ring was securely hidden in my sock drawer before Amanda stirred. As she got ready, I loaded the car with the food we had prepared the night before, my hands shaking slightly as I packed the cooler. "You seem nervous today," Amanda commented as we drove to her parents' place. "Is everything okay?" "Just want everything to go well," I replied, which was not exactly a lie. Looking back, I should have noticed the warning signs. In the months leading up to that day, Amanda had become increasingly focused on her TikTok presence. What had started as a casual creative outlet had grown into something she devoted hours to each day. She had accumulated nearly 50,000 followers with her lifestyle and relationship content. I had always supported her social media career, understanding it was both professional development and personal passion. But there had been moments that made me uncomfortable, like when she insisted on filming our private dinner for our anniversary, or when she staged and reshot moments that should have been spontaneous. I dismissed these concerns as old-fashioned thinking on my part. This was the modern world, and sharing life online was normal. If it made her happy and helped her career, who was I to object? When we arrived at the lake house, her friends Lauren and Danielle were already there, helping set up decorations that seemed excessive for a family barbecue. String lights, floral arrangements, and a photo backdrop had transformed the casual gathering space into something more staged. "We are going to get so much content today," Lauren exclaimed as we unloaded the car. "Amanda, that backdrop is perfect for the relationship series you were talking about." I overheard fragments of their conversations as I set up the grill. They discussed hashtag strategies, optimal posting times, and content planning in the way my colleagues talked about software architecture. It struck me as oddly calculated, but I focused on preparing for the cookout, checking the propane tank, and arranging the meat and vegetable platters. Amanda seemed distant throughout the early afternoon, more focused on her phone than on our gathering family members. When her mother asked for help in the kitchen, Amanda asked her sister Julie to go instead, saying she needed to catch the golden hour light for some photos. A slight uneasiness settled in my stomach, but I pushed it away. Everyone was entitled to a distracted day now and then, and perhaps she was just nervous, somehow sensing what I had planned for the evening. The weight of the ring box in my pocket reassured me. In a few hours, everything would be perfect. As the afternoon progressed, I focused on grilling, finding comfort in the simple, methodical task. The marinade sizzled as I placed chicken and steaks on the hot surface, the familiar aroma momentarily calming my nerves. From my position, I could see Amanda and her friends huddled together by the lakefront phones held up as they filmed something. Jake approached with an odd expression, his usual easygoing demeanor replaced by something more serious. "Hey, you might want to see this," he said, quietly holding out his phone. I wiped my hands on a towel and took the device, confused by his somber tone. The TikTok app was open to Amanda's latest post uploaded just minutes ago. The video showed Amanda gesturing toward me at the grill in the background while she spoke to the camera. "This is what a practice husband looks like." Her voice came through, clearly followed by giggles from Lauren and Danielle. "He cooks, he cleans, he is reliable. Perfect training for when the real deal comes along." My hand trembled slightly as I scrolled to the comments section already, filling with responses. "He's giving test run vibes." "FR girl, the training wheels phase is so important." "Does he know he's the beta version upgrade coming soon, lol?" The phone suddenly felt too heavy in my hand. I returned it to Jake, unable to form words as blood rushed to my ears, creating a dull roaring sound that drowned out the cheerful chatter around us. I am sure she did not mean anything by it, Jake offered weakly. You know how these social media things are all about engagement and jokes. But something cold and certain settled in my chest. This was not just a joke for views. This was a glimpse into how Amanda truly saw our relationship, a revelation that made the ring box in my pocket seem absurd, a punchline to a joke I hadn't realized was being told at my expense. My mind raced through every conversation, every moment I had interpreted as building toward a future together. Had I misread everything? The comments about wedding venues, the hints about rings, the talk of our future home. Had it all been content creation rather than genuine desire? I remembered Amanda's recent fascination with a series of TikTok videos about relationship evolution, where creators documented their journey from casual dating to finding their forever person. She had watched them obsessively commenting on how certain couples were clearly transitional while others were endgame. At the time, I had thought nothing of it. Now, with painful clarity, I realized she had been categorizing our own relationship, placing us in the stepping stone category while I had been planning to propose. I stood motionless at the grill, mechanically flipping burgers that were starting to char, while inside I was experiencing a crisis of understanding. The steaks sizzled, demanding attention I couldn't give them. For 3 years, I had built my world around a foundation that had just been revealed as temporary by design. After several minutes of this internal turmoil, I managed to regain enough composure to look up. Across the yard, Amanda was still filming with her friends, apparently unaware of the devastation she had just caused. The casual way she laughed and posed felt like a separate wound salt in the already gaping injury to my heart. I needed to confront her. With wooden legs, I walked toward the group, the ring box now feeling like a stone weighing down my pocket. As I approached, Amanda looked up with a smile that faltered when she saw my expression. "Hey, babe. Is the food almost ready?" she asked, lowering her phone. I stood there, mouth open, but no words emerged. How do you ask someone if you are just a practice round for their real life? How do you question the authenticity of 3 years together? I saw your TikTok. I finally managed my voice sounding strange even to my own ears. A brief flash of something realization perhaps crossed her face before being replaced by a dismissive smile. "Oh, that. It is just content, Bert. Do not be so serious. Everyone does those kinds of videos now. Practice husband." The words felt bitter on my tongue. Lauren and Danielle exchanged glances, backing away slightly, but not quite leaving, as if watching the continuation of the content they had been filming. "It is just a trending sound, a joke format," Amanda explained, her tone suggesting I was overreacting. "The algorithm loves that kind of relationship content. It does not mean anything." But it did mean something. In that moment, I saw our relationship with perfect clarity. I was not her destination, just a stop along the way. While I had been planning forever, she had been documenting the before part of her life story. The disconnect was not just about a TikTok video. It was about fundamentally different views of what we meant to each other. And perhaps it had always been there, hidden beneath the surface of our seemingly perfect compatibility. In a strange way, a sense of calm settled over me. There was a certain clarity and devastation, a simplicity that came with having illusions stripped away. I did not need to argue or plead my case. The truth was already out there, broadcasting to thousands of strangers who knew something I had only just discovered. "The burgers are done," I said, finally, the banality of the statement almost comical given the circumstances. "Someone should take them off the grill." I turned and walked back to the cooking area, not to resume my duties, but to set down the spatula. As conversations resumed around me, I reached into my pocket and felt the velvet box one last time. With deliberate care, I placed it on the small side table next to the grill, knowing someone would find it later and understand what it meant. Without eating, without saying goodbye, I walked to my car. No one noticed my departure immediately, too caught up in the festivities and endless documentation of the perfect family gathering. I drove away from the lake house with no destination in mind, just an urgent need to put distance between myself and the life I had mistakenly believed was mine. That night I checked into a hotel on the outskirts of Chicago, turned off my phone, and sat in complete silence for hours. The room was anonymous and bland-fitting for someone whose identity had just been fundamentally shaken. I felt hollow, as if everything that had defined me for the past 3 years had been scooped out, leaving just an outline of the person I thought I was. The first few days after the barbecue passed in a blur of disbelief and pain. I extended my stay at the hotel, unable to face returning to the apartment filled with our shared life. My phone remained off a temporary barrier against the reality waiting on the other side. On the third day, Jake tracked me down, concern evident in the dark circles under his eyes. He brought a duffel bag with clothes from my office and takeout from my favorite Thai restaurant. "Everyone is looking for you," he said as I picked at the pad thai without appetite. "Amanda has been calling nonstop." "What is she saying?" I asked, not sure why I cared. "At first she was angry that you left without saying anything. Now she is worried. The video has been taken down." I nodded absently. Too late for that. Jake stayed for a few hours, not pressing for decisions or explanations, just providing silent company while I drifted through my thoughts. Before leaving, he offered his spare room for as long as I needed it. The next day, I turned on my phone to a flood of notifications. 27 missed calls from Amanda. 43 text messages ranging from angry, "How dare you just leave like that," to concerned, "Please just let me know you are okay," to pleading, "We need to talk about this. It was just a stupid video." Messages from her family, from mutual friends, from colleagues who had heard something was wrong. The digital aftermath of a relationship implosion, all contained in a device I could not bear to look at for more than a few minutes. I replied only to Jake, accepting his offer of temporary housing, and to my supervisor requesting a week of personal leave. Then, I turned the phone off again and checked out of the hotel. Jake's apartment became my sanctuary. Located in a different neighborhood from the one Amanda and I had shared, it offered both physical and psychological distance from my previous life. The spare room was Spartan, just a futon and a small desk, but its emptiness suited my state of mind. I asked Jake to coordinate with our mutual friend Sarah to retrieve my essential belongings from the apartment. They returned with suitcases of clothes, my laptop, and a few personal items, reporting that Amanda had been there red-eyed and withdrawn, asking repeatedly when I would come back. The first week was the hardest physically. I could not sleep more than 2 hours at a stretch, waking from dreams where Amanda laughed at me from behind a phone screen. Food lost its taste, and I subsisted mainly on coffee, and whatever Jake insisted I try to eat. My body felt simultaneously leaden and hollow, as if grief had reconfigured my physical form. On the 8th day, I called my father. We had always been similar, reserved with our emotions, but deep in our attachments. He listened without interruption as I recounted what had happened, his silence on the other end of the line somehow more comforting than any immediate advice would have been. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment before speaking. "You know, son, there are people who live their lives for an audience, always performing rather than experiencing. It sounds like you found one. The question is whether she was performing for the world or for herself." That distinction lingered with me as I began the process of rebuilding. I started a journal attempting to untangle the genuine connections from the performative aspects of our relationship. How much had been real? How much had I ignored signs that should have been obvious? The writing was therapeutic pages, filling with memories re-examined through a new lens. In the second week, I returned to work grateful for the structure and mental engagement it provided. My colleagues were kind but not intrusive, offering simple support through coffee left on my desk or lunch invitations with no pressure to discuss what had happened. At Jake's suggestion, I made an appointment with a therapist. Dr. Winters was a straightforward woman in her 50s who helped me frame what had happened, not as a personal failure, but as a misalignment of values and expectations. Some people view relationships as destinations, others as content for their life narrative, she observed during our second session. Neither is inherently wrong, but they are incompatible approaches. That framing helped me see that proposing would have been a mistake regardless of the humiliating way I had discovered the truth. Amanda and I had fundamentally different views of what relationships meant. a divide that no amount of love or compromise could bridge. By the end of the second week, a new routine had emerged from the chaos. Work during the day, therapy twice a week, evenings spent either with Jake or alone reclaiming hobbies I had neglected. I joined a local hiking group, finding solace in physical exertion and the simplicity of putting one foot in front of another on forest trails. I reconnected with friends I had seen less frequently during my relationship with Amanda. A college roommate and I met for beers and reminisced about simpler times. My cousin invited me to a baseball game, the familiar rhythm of the sport, a welcome distraction. At work, I volunteered for a project developing software for a conservation initiative, something I had been interested in but had hesitated to pursue due to the time commitment it would require. The challenge absorbed my professional energy and gave me a sense of purpose beyond survival. The first genuine moment of joy caught me by surprise. I was walking through the park on a Saturday morning when a golden retriever puppy escaped its owner and bounded up to me all enthusiasm and clumsy paws. As I helped return the excitable dog, I found myself laughing for what felt like the first time in ages. The sound was rusty, but real. That weekend, I began researching a solo trip to the Colorado mountains. I had always wanted to hike there, but Amanda had preferred beaches and cities for our getaways. Planning the trip felt like reclaiming a piece of myself, making choices based solely on my own desires after years of compromise. It was exactly 3 weeks after the barbecue when Julie's text arrived. Amanda's younger sister and I had always gotten along well, sharing an interest in fantasy novels and a more introverted nature than Amanda. She cries every time someone brings up your name and is begging for you to come back, the message read. She deleted her TikTok account completely and says she realizes what she lost. I know she hurt you badly, but I thought you should know she is genuinely devastated. I stared at the text for a long time, unsure how to feel about Amanda's apparent regret. Part of me, a part I was not proud of, felt a grim satisfaction that she was suffering too. Another part ached at the thought of her in pain, despite everything. Within hours, mutual friends began reaching out, apparently coordinated to convey similar messages. Amanda was sorry. Amanda had made a terrible mistake. Amanda had been caught up in social media validation and lost sight of what really mattered. Their reports described a transformation, her social media accounts gone dark, her influencer aspirations abandoned. According to our friends, she spoke of nothing but winning me back, of proving she had changed. The news left me with complicated emotions I could not immediately sort through. 3 weeks of distance had begun the healing process, but hearing about her regret reopened wounds that had just started to close. I needed time and space to determine what this information meant for me, if anything. I did not respond to Julie or the others immediately. Instead, I booked my flight to Colorado, accelerating plans for the trip I had been contemplating. I needed physical distance and the clarity that often comes with mountain air to process what I truly wanted. 1 week after Julie's text, I found myself on a forest trail outside Chicago, the familiar path providing comfort as I confronted the decision that had been weighing on me. The early morning sun filtered through the trees, creating patterns of light and shadow that shifted with each step. I had spent days turning over the situation in my mind, weighing forgiveness against self-protection, closure against continuation. Amanda wanted to talk, wanted a second chance. Did I owe her that? Did I owe myself the opportunity to hear her out? More importantly, what did I truly want? The hurt and humiliation had dominated my emotions initially, but as those feelings subsided, more nuanced questions emerged. Had 3 years of genuine connection been nullified by one terrible moment? Was there something worth salvaging, or would attempting reconciliation only prolong the inevitable? I found a fallen log and sat watching a chickadee flit from branch to branch above me. Nature had become my refuge, its rhythms unaffected by human drama providing perspective my cluttered mind could not achieve alone. The night before, Jake and I had talked late into the evening about second chances and relationships. I cannot tell you what to do, he had said, nursing a beer as we sat on his balcony. But I will say this, forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same thing. You can forgive someone without letting them back into your life. His words resonated with me. Perhaps that was the answer, a way forward that honored both the good memories and the painful truth. I could forgive Amanda without returning to a relationship that had revealed itself as fundamentally misaligned. By the time I reached the end of the trail, my decision was made. I would meet Amanda not for reconciliation, but for closure. We both deserved the chance to speak our truths before moving in separate directions. The decision brought an unexpected lightness, as if I had set down a burden I had been carrying without realizing its weight. I chose a small coffee shop halfway between our old apartment and Jake's place, neutral territory with enough activity to prevent the conversation from becoming too intense. I arrived 20 minutes early, selecting a table in the corner that offered some privacy without complete isolation. When Amanda entered, I almost did not recognize her. Gone was the carefully styled hair and trendy outfit I had expected. Instead, she wore simple jeans and a sweater, her hair pulled back in a ponytail, face bare of makeup except for the evidence of recent tears around her reddened eyes. She hesitated at the door before spotting me, and the naked hope in her expression made something twist painfully in my chest. I stood as she approached, uncertain of the appropriate greeting after everything that had happened. "Thank you for meeting me," she said, her voice small and lacking its usual confident cadence. "I was not sure you would." "I was not sure either," I admitted, as we both sat down. An awkward silence fell, filled with unspoken words and shared history. I waited, allowing her the opportunity to begin the conversation she had requested. "I found the ring," she finally said, reaching into her purse and placing a small velvet box on the table between us. "It was in your drawer when I was looking for any note or message you might have left. It is beautiful." I looked at the box, remembering the hope and certainty I had felt when purchasing it. Those feelings seemed to belong to another lifetime. "I have been trying to understand how I could have hurt you so badly." Amanda continued, tears forming in her eyes. "How I could have been so blind to what was right in front of me. I got caught up in this online persona, in the validation from strangers, in creating this narrative about my life instead of living it." She wiped at her cheeks with the sleeve of her sweater, a vulnerable gesture so unlike her usual composed self. "I have deleted all my accounts. TikTok, Instagram, everything. I realized I was addicted to the attention, to crafting this perfect story of my life instead of appreciating the real life I had, the real love I had." Her words were everything I might have wanted to hear 3 weeks ago, but now they struck me as both genuine and insufficient. The problem had never been just the video or the social media presence, but what those things revealed about our fundamental incompatibility. "I believe you are sorry," I said carefully, choosing my words with deliberation, "and I appreciate your apology. But this is not just about one video or even about social media. It is about how we see relationships, how we value each other." "I do value you," she insisted, "more than anything or anyone. Now, perhaps, but when it mattered, I was the practice husband, the test run, the stepping stone to something you considered better or more real." She flinched at my words but did not deny them. "It was a stupid joke. I did not mean it. Maybe on a conscious level you did not. But there was truth in it, Amanda. Truth about how you saw our relationship as part of a larger narrative rather than the destination itself." We talked for nearly 2 hours, covering ground we had never explored during our 3 years together. She spoke of insecurities. I had never recognized how the validation from social media filled voids left by childhood experiences. I shared how her public documentation of our private moments had often made me feel like an accessory rather than a partner. Through tears and painful honesty, we achieved something valuable: understanding. Not the rekindling of romance, but the clarity that comes from finally seeing each other's true perspectives. "So there is no chance?" she finally asked, though her tone suggested she already knew the answer. "I think we both deserve something different than what we can offer each other," I replied gently. "You deserve someone who shares your vision of life as content worth creating and sharing. And I need someone who values privacy and presence in the moment." She nodded slowly, looking down at the ring box still sitting between us. "What happens now? I have accepted a position in Seattle," I told her, revealing the decision I had made just days before. A fresh start seems like the right move. When do you leave? 2 weeks. Enough time to tie up loose ends here. She pushed the ring box toward me. You should take this. Maybe someday. I shook my head. Keep it. Or sell it. Consider it payment for the furniture and everything else I am leaving behind. Our goodbye was quiet but dignified. A brief hug that acknowledged what we had shared without clinging to what could not be. As she walked away, I felt both sadness and a strange sense of completion, as if a story had reached its natural conclusion. I called Julie the next day, thanking her for her honesty and wishing her and the family well. She seemed to understand that my decision was final and expressed hope that both Amanda and I would find happiness in our separate futures. I sold most of my possessions before the move, keeping only what would fit in my car for the drive west. The ring I retrieved from Amanda and sold to a jewelry broker, donating part of the proceeds to a mental health organization focusing on social media addiction, a small gesture toward healing for us both. My last day in Chicago was bittersweet. Jake helped me pack the car, promising to visit once I was settled. As I drove away from the city that had contained both my greatest joy and deepest heartbreak, I felt a complex mixture of grief and possibility. Seattle welcomed me with characteristic rain and the promise of new beginnings. My apartment, small but with a view of distant mountains on clear days, became the first space that was entirely my own in years. I arranged my limited belongings, the emptiness of the rooms representing not absence but potential. 6 months after the barbecue, I found myself in a different life entirely. My work with the conservation software project had translated to a similar role in Seattle. I had made new friends through a local hiking club and a pottery class I had impulsively signed up for. I was dating, casually approaching new connections with both more caution and more honesty about my needs and boundaries. The pain had not disappeared entirely. There were still moments when a song or a scene from a movie would trigger memories of Amanda, but those memories no longer carried the sharp sting of betrayal. Instead, they had mellowed into lessons learned and growth achieved. What I gained from the experience was a deeper appreciation for authenticity in all my connections. I learned to value relationships built on mutual respect and compatible visions of the future. I discovered that the right partnership would never make me feel like someone's practice round, but rather their final destination. Most importantly, I found peace with both the past and the uncertainty of the future. Love remained worth the risk, despite its potential for heartbreak, and sometimes losing what you thought you wanted leads directly to finding what you truly need. Have you ever been in a relationship where you realized your partner wanted different things than you did? What helped you move forward? Share your stories in the comments below, and if this resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button and like this video. Your support helps me continue sharing these life experiences that remind us all we are not alone in our struggles. Thank you for listening, and remember, sometimes the most painful endings lead to the most beautiful beginnings.